Welcome to the Brodart Tell Me More Romance webinar. Today, 3 authors will be sharing their stories with you. Our moderator, Stephanie Sendaula, currently works with Library Link NJ as a programmer and outreach librarian, and has built a career spanning both publishing and librarianship, with a focus on reference services and collection development. She also served as an associate editor at Library Journal. When she's not championing books and readers, you can usually find her baking, gardening, or enjoying a good memoir. Over to you, Stephanie. Go ahead, Stephanie.
Sorry about that. I don't know. My computer just did a little thing, but thank you all for being here. I'm so happy to have you here. This is a great webinar. And to kick it off, we have Jeneane O'Riley, and I will give her a brief introduction here. So she is the #1 best-selling author of whimsically dark and romantic fantasy books. Her love of storytelling began as a small child, dreaming up glorious fantasies to fall asleep to. And as she has grown older, her love of storytelling has remained, but the tales grew more dangerous. I love this bio so much, and full of toe-curling tension. So Jeneane, thank you for being here, and I really love A Secret in the Garden. So please share more about the book with us and anything else you want to talk about. And I will have a few questions for you afterwards.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Stephanie. I am so excited for this. This is just such a fun opportunity. So hi, everyone. My name is Jeneane O'Riley. Today we're going to chat a little about my newest novel, A Secret in the Garden. My inspiration for it came from a single moment I had reading the original A Secret Garden. The titles I constantly am like having to be like, wait, which one's mine? But one moment I had when reading the classic, bright, cheery children's tale was when Mary's left alone in the huge manor after her family dies. My brain immediately asked, okay, but then what? Who found her? How? What happened next? And from there, that what if kind of just spiraled into Jasper Blackwood's story. And it took a turn to take this sweet, hopeful classic and kind of lean it into a gothic novel filled with decay, secrets, generational damage, while still keeping the essence of the original, or at least I hope I did. The slow process of opening up, I still think from the original carries through, and several key elements like rediscovering hope, building something meaningful with someone important. And then from there, I began looking at the story through a different lens. I've just always been drawn to the idea of taking something traditionally gentle, bright, optimistic, and kind of reframing it into a bit darker, more adult perspective. I had several years prior to writing that in an effort to be more well-spoken, I would get Harvard's syllabus for English Lit and try and read with this objective of being like more well-spoken and everything. And the only thing that really came from it, as I'm not very well-spoken, but was a huge love of Gothic literature. And with that, just this love of how the atmosphere in a novel can kind of take on its own characterization. And so I really kind of wanted to add that into this novel, which was pretty easy to do. I think it's such a classic tale. The garden, the quintessential garden, became a Victorian conservatory, sealed and left to rot. As the novel follows Eliza Arnold, a botanist tasked with restoring this massive, beautiful conservatory, which once belonged to Jasper Blackwood's mother. The town, rumors stir, and there's all types of whimsy amongst the rumors that Jasper Blackwood murdered his mother and father as they went mysteriously missing. When Eliza arrives, she's tasked with cleaning up all of this rot and ruin It was a really fun bit to write, to get to add in all these really cool Gothic flowers and plants and things that kind of take on their own atmosphere. One of them was the Amorphophallus titanum, which is the corpse flower, which I think is like such a quintessential like Gothic element of in the story. And it was really fun to do some research on this as well. But with the Blackwood Manor, hours from town, perched high upon a cliff, she's forced to stay at the estate alone with Jasper, and romance ensues. But as she works alone, she has this odd sense of being watched, and there's footsteps where there shouldn't be, whispers in the walls. And at one point, the ghost of Jasper's mother appears to her and begins leading her to items around the estate connected to the family's past and her disappearance. And it becomes clear that she wants Eliza to uncover some secrets that may have been misconstrued. And as Eliza tries to understand what really happened at Blackwood Manor, her relationship with Jasper Blackwood kind of blooms a little bit and begins to shift. They essentially are two people carrying their own histories of loss and isolation, and working together forces them to face parts of themselves that they've kind of avoided for years. By the end, the story asks whether two people with painful, complicated pasts can, in fact, grow together, and if love can bloom in places built on ruin. So it was very, very fun to write. The Secret in the Garden is the first book in my Dark Manor Chronicles. And it's a series of Gothic reimagining standalones, with the second book in the series being a Frankenstein retelling that I have kept myself from watching the movie that seems to be everywhere right now, but I'm so excited to get to once I'm done drafting.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you. We're going to come back to the Frankenstein retelling in just a moment because I'm very interested in that. So I like how you talked about how A Secret in the Garden is based on A Secret Garden. So you did talk about that a little bit, but I also know, kind of going off of my standard questions, you have a background in nature writing, and I really love how that comes into play in a story. So how was that a conscious decision on your end? Because I feel like the nature is almost like a story in and of itself, and it's so beautiful how you've written it that way, with like the house as a setting. And I don't want to spoil anything if you haven't read it, but it is really lovely. The flowers and the garden, it's just also kind of really well intertwined. So how was that writing process like for you?
Oh, thank you. That means so much. I always kind of inadvertently and unintentionally find myself weaving bits of nature into things. It's such a escape for me personally that, when things get a little heavy or something, I always end up in nature. And I'm a hobby mycologist, so I, for fun, go and look at mushrooms and things like that. And it kind of has just woven itself into my writing. It seems in everything. I find it very important to have representation of women in STEM, and in every book that I've done henceforth and moving forward has had a main character in STEM that I feel is hopefully represented in a flattering way, as sometimes I think stereotypically women in STEM can be looked on maybe as nerds or not so wonderful, or just different things like that. So kind of tying in the botanist with nature and everything was really, really fun to do. And it gave me such a cool opportunity to look into all the different plants and all these things. I'm a huge plant nature person, so it was really, really fun to get to kind of get in and see some cool things that I wouldn't have otherwise. And it really does, just like you said, in any great classic Gothic literature, I feel like the atmosphere takes on its own character. And so I really tried to do that with the plants and the conservatory and everything. So that really means a lot to me. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And I know you said this is the first in a series, and I know you have your best-selling Infatuated Face series, which we also love. So how is that writing process different for you with these standalones? Or was it different? Or any tips that you want to share with us?
Oh, that's such a good question. It was so different. It was very, very different. I it was like compacting everything into one. And, you do have a little bit of leniency, I feel like, in series where, I've been lucky enough that the series play out in my head. So I know from beginning to end already when I start, but there are so many things that you're like, well, I'll figure that out in a couple books, or like, I'll just figure that out. And it was really, really fun to keep the pacing a bit more steady and I think faster for the standalone to kind of resolve in and of itself was I find very satisfying to write and read. So that was a nice change up.
Okay, great. And I really love that you include a playlist at the beginning of the book. I really love when books have a playlist. So, does your writing or editing process have a soundtrack and any songs that are just on repeat for you as you write and edit?
I love a good playlist, and I'm always so interested in what everyone else is listening to because it's so vastly different, and I just love that. I tend to I am wildly neurodivergent. So I generally will put on one song and it has to play. It needs to be something that's vibing with the scene. And then it just plays, it'll play for like 9 hours for my writing session or whatever on repeat. But then when I'm not doing my writing and I'm doing my thinking of the stories, that's when I think I have a little bit more leniency with some of the, I'll hear a song and there will be bits of it that I'm like, oh, I love that scene and it'll kind of inspire different moments in the stories. And those are generally ones that I add to the playlist. Like if there was something that really, really stuck out to me in that song that I'm like, oh, it's perfect. I have to add it. And it's so funny because I know my playlists are absolute chaos. There is no rhyme or reason. There will be like a classic and then it's just all over the place, but I really do listen to a little bit of everything, and so that kind of goes into um, the stream of consciousness that that starts with the book. But it is funny. I do get asked frequently, should we listen to it in order? And usually in the past, if there's like a very specific song or something that goes with a chapter, I will make a little note of that. But otherwise, it's kind of just all for the vibes.
No, I love that too. So, thank you for sharing. And then my last question for you is when can we expect this Frankenstein retelling? Because Frankenstein's
Oh,
having a moment. The movie is wonderful. So we're really excited.
oh my gosh, it's so funny. So I have been writing this since I think June, and I have been planning it for maybe 2 years prior. And I just have had my head in the writing cave, and I haven't had any idea that there was even a movie coming out. And it was so funny. My publisher at Bloom Books was like, we were talking about something, and she's like, "Oh yeah, well the movie's coming." And I'm like, "Wait, what movie?" And so I've forbidden myself from watching it. Just and it's very, very different. I'm sure there's a very feminist backbone to mine, and it's definitely a tale in and of itself. But I'm like, I'm hesitant. I'm like, no, I'm not going to watch it. I'm not watching anything until I'm done drafting. So but I'm finishing up, so I'm excited to watch it. But yeah, we should be expecting that I believe in August of this coming year, and I'm so excited.
Oh, great. I'm personally excited too. So thank you for sharing. And we will ask more questions at the end. So thanks again. And
Awesome.
then
Thank you.
next we, oh yes, thank you. And next we have Susan Elizabeth Phillips, who is the number one best-selling author of the Chicago Star series, which we all love. She is a creator of sports romance and has been called the Queen of Romantic Comedy. Susan, thank you for being here. I'm so excited to chat with you too.
I guess I have to turn off my microphone. I was so interested in listening to is her name Jeneane?
Yes, I'm so interested too. I'm putting that
Well,
book on my list right now, the Frankenstein one.
so I have to make a comment to her first. You are not ever allowed again to say that you're not well spoken. Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
Sh-
I was thinking that as she was talking.
Right? She's going to
Yes.
put me to shame. She was so beautifully organized, and here I
Yes.
am. Okay, do you hear me, girlfriend? Wave at me if you hear me.
Oh my gosh, you're so sweet. You just made my whole day. Thank you so much. I appreciate that so much. I just love you.
Well, as well you should. So here's my excuse for not being as well spoken as my friend. My husband and I just came in from Chicagoland to Southern California yesterday. And so we've been packing and unpacking, and he's been running off doing things, and I've been running to the grocery store. And so if I ramble a little bit, you just have to forgive me, okay? So I'm going to begin the rambling talking about the Chicago Stars series.
Yes,
I'm
please do.
not, well, in the 19 or very early 1980s, for a long time, I've had this idea. I kept thinking, what would happen if a woman who knew nothing about sports inherited a professional football team? And that, of course, became the key idea for the first book in the series, which was, and the crowd went, which was, It Had to Be You, which was not my title, by the way. All the rest of the books have had my title. That one didn't. So I had no intention of writing a series. This was just a one-off book. But I think it was like in chapter 2 or 3, this wide receiver out of Tularosa, Texas, by the name of Bobby Tom Denton, walked into the book. And this guy was so arrogant, but funny. And I had to know more about him. And I thought, well, why don't I just tell his story next? Well, that became Heaven, Texas. I was done, right? No more Chicago Stars. Had no intention of writing a series. I wrote another book, Kiss an Angel, which was not a Chicago Stars book. And then I got this other idea. I thought about this woman who was a genius. She's born a genius, right? And she's always been an outcast. Well, now she's turned 30 and she really wants a child. She has no man in her life. And as much as she craves a child, she doesn't want this child to have to go through what she went through, feeling like such an outcast. So she decides she has to find somebody who's really dumb to father this child, which brought me right back to the Chicago Star series. So that is the disorganized way that this whole series took place. A lot of us talk about how our series books are standalone books. Well, I got to tell you, mine truly are standalone books because each one I wrote, I pretty much thought was going to be the last book. Every book is complete in unto itself. I don't know, as a reader, when I see that it's a series and The Crowd Went Wild is going to be the 11th book in this series, when I see that it's a series, I think, well, I don't want to jump into the series at book 11. It makes no difference at all. You can jump into this. Every book has a beginning, a middle, and an end. No cliffhangers. I'm not a big fan of cliffhangers. So, and The Crowd Went Wild is the 11th book in the series. It has its roots in a book called When Stars Collide. In When Stars Collide, the hero is the backup quarterback of the Chicago Stars. The actual quarterback is like this kid, 22, 23-year-old hotshot kid. And when I wrote him, I sort of had this sinking feeling. I'm thinking, not another quarterback, Susan. As a matter of fact, my husband has said, Susan, no more quarterbacks. You already have more quarterbacks than any team in the NFL. You can't keep doing this. But anyway, I wanted to create this character. So he's young, he's cocky. I finish that book, When Stars Collide, and I write the next book in the series. And in this book, this book is called Simply the Best. The hotshot young quarterback is now the younger brother of the heroine in that book. So again, I'm digging myself in deeper. I finished Simply the Best. I know that readers are going to kill me if I don't write Clint's story, but I'm like, I cannot do another quarterback. But I'm locked in, right? And, Jeneane, you were talking about this getting locked in with a series when you kind of say, oh, I'll figure that out sometime in the future. There we go. So I thought about this guy and I messed around for a bit. And I was online and I saw this picture in, I think it was 2016. Designer Zach Posen designed a gown for the Met Gala for Claire Danes. It was like this blue net princess gown, right? And when Claire Danes walked into the Met, they turned off the lights, and this thing had hundreds of fiber optic cables and lights inside it. The whole dress lit up, and she kind of disappeared. So it was like this ghost gown. Well, talk about good inspiration. So as this story developed, and the crowd went wild, became Clint's story, but we always start with the heroine, right? And this book stars an ex-Hollywood sex symbol, but she's got a broken heart. And Clint Garrett, our quarterback, is now in his early 30s. Clint has lost his game. We also have an old railroad car in the woods. More about asterisk, more about that later. It's an enemies to lovers story, and it's about two people who are lost but determined not to show it. And there's a dog. Okay. This story with the boxcar in it goes back to when I was 7 years old. I was a late reader. At age 6, I was had an old school teacher. There were 4 tables, table 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you were at the table depending on how smart or how dumb you were. I moved in to that classroom about a month after it started, and I was put at table 4. Now, you know what this does in terms of being ostracized at 6 years old from the girls at table 1 or table 2 or even table 3. And it was because I couldn't read. So I was taught to read. I think I gradually actually made it up to table 2, although that might be my fantasy. But I was not, obviously, reading was very painful to me until I hit 2nd grade. And Mrs. Martin, who in my mind was about 120 years old, at the end of the class every day started reading a little bit from Gertrude Chandler Warner's book, The Boxcar Children. I still remember the emotional experience of sitting in class at the end of the day. She's reading a chapter, and I am just praying the bell won't ring because I want to hear what is going to happen next to the kids, the Alden kids in The Boxcar Children. So that book was the book at age 7 that really made me a writer. It made me a reader first, and then it made me a writer. So in this book, there are similarities because we have an old boxcar in the woods on the hero's property. He has banished the heroine. He doesn't have quite, he's got a big heart, this guy. He's not mean enough to kick her out when she really is down, but he doesn't want to see her. He doesn't want her in his house. So he lets her stay in this old refurbished boxcar. And that let me begin every sentence or every chapter of the book with a little quote from And the Crowd Went Wild. Hold on a second. My husband is giving me notes in the background. He said, it's not a boxcar in the book, it is a caboose, which is true. Can you tell my husband's an engineer and he's very careful with language, while I, the writer, am all over the place. Where were we?
It was a great scene. I love that. Well, I love the caboose. Sorry, I thought it was a boxcar too. Like
no, it's
the
a
visual
caboose
is perfect
because it has a little cupola on top.
Yes.
Okay. That was really, really a fun element to add to the books. But we have some real tension in this book, and the heroine is really in a bad place at the beginning. You kind of think her ex-husband is not Tom Cruise, but boy, a lot of the description sounds a lot like Tom Cruise, I gotta say, although I don't think my guy's as nice as Cruise might be. So that's kind of where we are with this book. Watching the heroine's journey, with the house is on the side of a lake in Wisconsin. The hero, all he wants is to be left alone. Well, that is not going to happen. So that's kind of where I am with the book. And it's coming out on February the 10th.
Yes, which is very soon. So thank you for sharing that too. And this book was so fun too. So a little off tangent of my usual questions, but these characters are so fun. I mean, Dabney is such a great main character. So I just
Oh,
want to know what the process of like creating those characters was like, because she's so relatable. Like even though she's a Hollywood starlet, I feel like so many women can relate to just like feeling run down, like getting that second chance, like looking for something. So that alone was very relatable, I thought.
I like Dancy because this woman is beautiful. She is a Hollywood sex symbol. And I think I've only done three characters in my career where these are really beautiful women and their beauty means nothing to them, which as a not beautiful woman, I just kind of love that. We all kind of enjoy that. But Dancy she does have a broken heart. And, the thing I love about a character like Dancy is she's broken, but she is not going to let anybody know. And that is always really fun to write because you've got that conflict there between how she presents herself and how she really is internally. So I'm glad that resonated with you. Thanks, Stephanie.
Yes, thank you. And I love this because it is enemies to lovers, it's second chance. And I love both of those tropes personally. And I encourage you, if you're listening, feel free to share your favorite tropes in the chat. But I wanted to ask you, Susan, what are your favorite romance tropes? And again, no right or wrong answers here.
Okay, you're going to get an old lady rant here.
Please
I'm
feel
thinking,
free.
okay, are y'all ready for this rant? And you
Yes,
got
I
to
love a
agree with
trope
me.
rant. Yes.
Okay, here's my rant. Everything now is tropes, right? They want to put it on the back of every book. These are the tropes. All the publicity, these are the tropes. This reduces us again to the old formula romance. Yes, there are these familiar themes that run through the genre, but when we're constantly talking about tropes, I feel like we're taking the boundaries of the romance and we're constricting it to, oh, those books are all formula. So, are there certain themes I like, certain setups I like? I love enemies to lovers. I still kind of like Secret Baby, all those kinds of things. But reducing everything to tropes is starting to get on my nerves. Do you think I have a point here?
Completely. I completely agree with you, actually. Because, yeah, it really reduces the book because it's so much more than that, too. I mean, it's really a woman of resilience. It's a woman who is like looking for her, like, for a lot of people, a woman of a certain age, looking for what's our meaning in life? What is our purpose? Like, what are we here for? Yeah. So there's more than that. It's not just
Not just my
enemies to
book,
lovers.
all of our
Yeah.
books. I
All of
think we
them.
need to let's fight against those walls. It's more than a
Yes.
singular or a couple of kind of tropes. We're dealing with characters and situations and real life emotions that a lot of women feel.
Yes, completely agree. So I love that rant. So thank you for sharing too. And Jeneane, Amy, I'm sure you would agree too, because I'm pretty sure your books have been reduced to tropes, and there's so much more than that. There's so much, more depth and nuance to each of your books.
My quick little trope rant
Yes,
is
please feel
Oh,
free.
good.
forced proximity is not a trope.
No.
Whatever's forcing the proximity is the trope. So forced proximity is maybe an umbrella, but the forced proximity is actually if they're workplace romance or if they're roommates or neighbors, like that. There's like forced proximity is not actually a trope. It's just indicating that they're around each other a lot, which happens in all books in order to have the main characters have interactions. So that's my little trope rant.
You are
Yes,
so
no,
right.
please.
And
Yes,
again, it just
completely.
constricts us to this little ladies genre, these women writing these little teeny books around these singular little tropey things.
Yeah, no, I agree. And Jane, I'm sure your book has been reduced to like enemies to lovers, but it's like it's more than that. It's the story of the house and the town, even. So yeah, it's way much more. So thank you all for sharing. I really appreciate that. Oh, Janine, you can go ahead if I cut you off.
No, you didn't. I just wasn't sure if I was going to be ready or not. But no, I
Yes.
agree. I think I might have maybe a little bit of a differing opinion and I totally agree when it's like, sometimes now I feel like you can pick up the back of a book and it's the first thing these are the tropes. And I totally agree on those type of things that's not all that the book is or anything. But coming from indie publishing in more of a marketing standpoint, I do think I have to say I do think there is a little bit of weight to putting in to let a broader group of people know very quickly what is in the book and what they might be interested or might not be. So I'm kind of like sitting right in the middle on this of like, I can see if it's done in a certain way, there can be really nice attributes to letting people know what some of the tropes are. However, when that's the only thing that we are condensing into that book are this is an enemies to lovers, and we're leaving out so many of the other points of the story. I definitely don't agree with that, but I do think strictly,
and I think you're absolutely right. It's total marketing. It's just like the old clinch covers. It was all marketing. It let you identify, and it's just freaking sad that we have to do that. I understand it, but it's sad. And also, let's speak to the reader. You only want to read enemies to lovers story. You're speaking in terms of the practical, and you're absolutely right. I'm just being cranky.
oh no, I think I completely can understand and I totally agree with the thought. I also think that readers are becoming more cognizant of this issue also because there's so many times that it will be marketed as an enemies to lovers and then they read it and they're like, this isn't an enemies to lovers. And I know that that's becoming a lot more of a topic. And I think that's, I think we're headed in the right direction of it being more of a substance type discussion versus, labeling.
Too bad she's not well spoken.
Well, you're beautiful.
Gee,
so I'm going to come tell you, if you think that I'm well spoken, you're stunning and beautiful. And you can't about yourself either.
So thank you all for chiming in too. And I really agree with all of your points too. So I really appreciate a good trope rant. So thank you so much for indulging me on that. And I have one last question for you, Susan, of what's next in your Chicago Stars series?
I am old, and so I have the freedom now of doing whatever I want to do, and I'm doing whatever I want to do. So I'm not definitely not ready to give up writing. I'm done with quarterbacks, unless they're on the TV screen. Go Bears.
Oh, valid, very valid. So thank you. I'm looking forward to whatever you have next, and taking a break is always an option too. So thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, and next we have Amy Daws. Very excited. Okay, let me bring up my notes really, really quick. Okay. There we go. Okay, Amy is the #1 best-selling Amazon and USA Today author who writes spicy love stories that take place in America and across the pond. Amy, thank you for being here. I know we're going to talk about both of your series today. So we had the Wait With Me series and the Lumberjack one, both of which I really, really enjoy. So please feel free to share a little bit about yourself and your writing.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. I was an indie author for over 10 years, so doing more library events and more traditional publishing world events is new to me, but super fun and exciting. My one fun library story is that my grandma, so I'm a Midwest girl, my grandma lives 2 hours away from me in Grettinger, Iowa, which is population 800. And she loves Amish romance novels. Okay, very clean, like very wholesome. But I write spicy books. And so, like, from day one, since I started writing these books, I was like, Grandma, these aren't the books for you. Okay. You better just take a pass on them. It'll help our relationship. And she said, well, I will buy a copy and donate it to my local library every release. So she is so sweet. She buys my book every time it comes out and donates it to her library. So I love doing more library events. It feels like a very full circle moment in my career. So thanks for having me today. To talk about my books a little bit. Next in line is actually book 2 in my Wait With Me series, which is my first, kind of a Colorado rom-com series about a group of friends in Boulder, Colorado. This series ties closely to my more recent Frontlist series, which is my Mountain Men Matchmaker series. So my Wait With Me series, I indie published it and it had been out for a few years. And then now HarperCollins is redoing the print version. So I have the cool sprayed edges, which is so fun. Next in line is like a very ice fishing small town trope, basically to talk about the tropes that we know and love. I agree, tropes are great for marketing. So, and when you're a librarian and a reader's asking about what kind of book you're looking for, tropes is a very helpful tool to give people headlines. But this is she falls for her brother's best friend, basically. She's fresh off of a breakup. He called her boring, and so she's kind of having this crisis of self, and she's looking for adventure. And her brother's best friend is like Mr. Outdoorsy. He skis, he like rock climbs, he's like into ice fishing and all that. And so they end up actually randomly meeting in an ice fishing, bait shop, which sounds super romantic. I know. But yes, she meets him, and she actually hasn't met her brother's best friend. Her brother moved 10 hours away, and so she's heard of this friend, but she's never met him. And so when they first meet, they don't know who each other is. And so the sparks fly right away. And then, of course, it's a couple scenes later when she shows up at the bar to see her brother, and then his best friend is the guy she was totally flirting with in a hot bait and tackle shop. So lots of rom-com. I write a lot of comedy in my books, but I definitely try to mix in a lot of like emotional growth, a lot of dark trauma sometimes. I like mixing that light with dark. I think that there's a balance for that. My first book that I ever wrote was a memoir about my struggles through recurrent pregnancy loss. So I've really healed a lot through the course of writing my stories, and I've always somehow been able to maintain my sense of humor. And so I love that balance in my stories. So this next in line is definitely it's a fun, spicy, winter-based romance, and I'm excited to finally have those paperbacks in hand because they are so beautiful.
Great. Thank you for sharing too. And I really want to talk about, now there's a lot of humor in this book. I mean, it is a romance, but there's also just so much fun here too. Like you have really clever chapter titles, which I just enjoyed reading. So was that a purposeful topic for you to include humor in each book that you write? Because I feel like a lot of your books have that humor involved too. So like we're here for the romance, of course, but we're also laughing pretty much the entire time because it's just so funny.
I love chapter titles. I don't do them in all of my books, but I like that they can kind of almost give you a headline for what's to come in that chapter. And so this one I had the idea of doing like fishing puns. My dad was a big fisher, so I got a lot of ideas from him. The first book in this series was based around a tire shop waiting room meet cute, which has its own crazy backstory. And so I was actually brainstorming with my dad, and I was like, Dad, I need something that's weird and out there like a tire shop. So it kind of matches the vibe of this series. And he was the one that gave me the idea of a bait shop. And I was like, oh my God, I love it. And it could be like a winter romance, and it could be like trapped in an ice fishing shack. And I could just picture it all like right away. And so these fishing puns are all over the place. And so just even fishing terms like catch and release or fish and cut bait. And so I was like, those would be fun to kind of theme with each chapter. So, and it kind of lends itself to that light-hearted rom-com feel.
It really does. And speaking for librarians, we love a good pun. So it was just perfect to read throughout too. So, and a little off topic for my questions, but you have such great characters here too. I feel like Maggie is such a great heroine too. So are there any characters that you personally relate to, or how do you get inspiration for writing your characters?
Yeah, I think I give a little of myself to all of my characters. I mean, definitely I'm writing fiction, so a lot of the things that happen to them my life is not that interesting. I'm very Midwest classic, I'd say. But I liked Maggie because she was a young, hopeless romantic. She was fresh out of college. She loved romance novels. I love anytime I can bring the romance world into my stories a little bit. Book one in this series called Wait With Me is about a romance novelist. So then Maggie in Next in Line is just a romance reader. And so I liked that she was dreaming of happy endings. So after she was dumped by her boyfriend that she thought she was going to marry, she was having this emotional crisis of like, how do I get him back? He was my forever. I knew we were perfect. Like she was holding on so strongly to the fact that her ex was who she was meant to be with. she wasn't noticing the guy that was like actually, perfect for her just because he was unexpected and not a part of her plan. So I like that it goes a little bit off script, but yeah, I think I definitely give a lot of myself to all of my characters. Sam, the male main character next in line, he is just that brooding classic mountain man. But he's got three sisters, so he's super protective of them. He does everything for his mom. He's just a super salt of the earth hero. He's like, I would say, one of my most favorite heroes I've written just because I could just feel his essence as I wrote him. Like he just really came through on the page really well, I think.
Oh no, I definitely agree. He was such a great character too. So even like, the brother too, like Maggie's brother was just such a great family, great like chosen family too. So it was really,
Yeah.
really
Well,
well
and
written.
Maggie's brother was the male main character in book one, Wait With Me. So that's
Mhm.
why I was like, man, it'd just be so perfect to do a brother's best friend trope next because then we can bring in the characters from book one so you can see a little bit more of them, which readers love that. Like all my books, like Susan's, read great as standalones, but you do see characters from other books that pop in, and that's just nice for a little update if you're a series reader. But if you're not and you just want to dive right into next in line, that works out well too.
Oh, no, I completely agree. You can read it by itself. Like, of course, you can read Wait with Me too, but you can just dive right in here, which is perfect.
Yeah, yeah.
So, what are you working on next? So, what can we look forward to coming up?
Yeah, so funnily enough, like Sam from Next in Line is sort of my first mountain man vibe guy. And so I think after I wrote him, I finished the Wait With Me series, but I'd always kind of was like, man, I would love to write a mountain man series someday. So the fifth book, which is already out called Last on the List in my Wait With Me series, I gave that male main character who was like a millionaire single dad CEO. I gave him three brothers who all lived on a mountain compound. And I knew what I was doing then. I was like, okay, I'm not going to write three mountain men brother side characters and not write that series. So I'm in the process of releasing all of those books. I just released book three a couple weeks ago in November. That one was called Honeymoon Phase. But yeah, the Mountain Men Matchmaker series is a series about three brothers who all live on a mountain compound in rural Colorado. I was a huge fan of the Seven Brides for Seven Brothers musical growing up, so I think I was, channeling a little bit of that, June Bride vibe. If anyone's seen that musical, it's such a classic. Very problematic. I mean, they basically kidnap women and, carry them up to their mountain until they develop Stockholm syndrome and fall in love with them. I was like, yes, great like premise for a spicy contemporary series. So yeah, that's what my Mountain Man Matchmaker series is about. The fourth and final book comes out in May. So I'm super excited for that. That's called Bad Boy Era. Basically, that one's the niece who's like, she's 20 years old, 22 in her book. And she's been kind of meddling in her uncle's lives, matchmaking them. She was 11 in Last on the List. So from my Wait With Me series to my Mountain Men series, there's like a 7 year time hop. She kind of ages up and she starts meddling in her uncle's love lives. She thinks they deserve love because she kind of match made her dad in that single dad romance. And so she's just kind of a little meddling matchmaker. And the last book in that series, Bad Boy Era, is her time to shine, her turn to fall in love. So I love the mountain scenery landscape. It's like another character in the book, and I'm just enjoying the Colorado vibes as well.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
So that was all my questions for you, and I do have a question for each of you. Elenita, I don't know if you want to just keep, or we can keep that slide up too. So for each of you, I want to know, what are you reading right now?
Oh, I can answer that. I just downloaded Heated Rivals, of course, because
Mm-hmm.
the new show is out and everybody's talking about it. And I was like, all right, I have to. I think it's Rachel Reed, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just getting started on that because I love when the book community is freaking out about an adaptation or a really popular book. I want to be a part of the chatter and I want to know what everyone's talking about. So yeah, I just downloaded Heated Rivals.
Yes, I still need to watch it, but I've heard like such great things all around. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
I just finished Juliet Fay's book, The Harvey Girls. I've actually been reading a whole lot lately. I finished a whole book on the plane yesterday. The Harvey Girls is really great. It's sort of historical fiction. Harvey was this man who established these restaurants in railroad stops all across the country during the early 1900s, and they were immaculate. And the girls who worked there had to wear their uniforms. Actually, they got decent money. And this is a story of two of the women who were Harvey Girls. Excellent book. I highly recommend it, especially for people who like really good historical romance.
Ooh, thank you for that rec. I'm adding that to my list right now.
I am currently reading, I'm finishing up Phantasmagoriana, which was the novel that Mary Shelley, Percy Shelley, Lord Byron, and everybody, James Polidori, all read when they had their ghost story session, and they actually Frankenstein was created. So that was it's like an anthology of ghost stories that they were all reading, and I thought that I had to read it too. So that's what I'm finishing up right now.
Okay, great. Thank you for sharing too. And I'm still looking forward to that Frankenstein book. And I wanted to open up for any Q&A. If you have a question for any of our authors, please feel free to put it in the chat and we're happy to ask them.
If nobody has a question, I got one.
Oh, please feel free, Susan.
I would love to know, for Jeneane and Amy, do you love writing or do you love having written?
Do you want to go ahead, Amy?
Yeah, my answer is always, I have like a love-hate relationship with writing. I've written 25 books now, so you would have thought I would have found an easy way to answer this question, but the writing process is very hard and painful for me. Every book, it doesn't change. And every time I finish a book, I'm always like, huh, I did it. I did it again. I'm always surprised. It just doesn't ever seem like I'm going to be able to finish. So I find the writing process very hard, but it's so rewarding when you finish. Like there's just no greater feeling than when you type the end. And then the external validation from readers is so inspiring. So yeah, it's a love-hate, but mostly love.
That's so funny. Yeah, I can totally relate to that. I would say I'm always hesitant to call myself an author, and I always just say I'm a storyteller because I love crafting a story, but the first draft is like my arch nemesis. So anything after that, I think is very fun and I enjoy. But usually getting that first draft, I'm like, I'm awful. Like, it's just like such a flurry of emotions. But the story is always like fun and
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Susan?
I hate it. I love having written and I love revising. That empty screen when you're just putting that skeleton in and it's just there's no depth to it, there's no emotion to it. That just drives me crazy. And even after all these years of writing, I'm like, oh, I'll never pull this one out. But oh man, when you finally get it right, there's such a rush from that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love having written.
Mhm. That's a good way to put it. I'm going to remember that and steal that. I'll try to credit you.
Oh, thanks.
That was a great question too, Susan. So I appreciate that. So I do have another question for all of you too, or I know you all write romance, but is there a genre that you would love to try, but you haven't written before? And not just to publish, just for fun, like writing like on your own?
I am really interested in psychological thrillers. I really love in all of my books, I really enjoy leaning into more of the psychological, like welfare and chase and just all of that with it. And so I think it would be a kind of fun too. I don't know if I would do anything with it, but I think it would be fun to give it a shot.
That'd be really fun.
Yeah. I feel like right now I'm at the place where I could write anything I want. So what am I doing? I'm going back and writing what I've written before. Just these women who are in a terrible place in their life and watching them grow and self-actualization. Apparently that is all I can write because that's all I'm drawn to writing.
We have a question from the audience. Do you have any wintertime reading rituals?
Oh, read.
No bra.
I love that, Susan.
It's all the time for me. That doesn't have to be winter.
I know, right?
No, I mean a cozy blanket, a fire. The Christmas lights are a great vibe too. The tree lights, that's so nice to read too.
Yeah, I have this thing in our house that we will get under a blanket and we have like a little, fake fire electric heater and then we say we're in blanket prison because we can't get out of the blanket somebody has to turn the fans off or something and free us because we're trapped there forever. So that's the best place to read in my opinion.
That's sweet.
No, that was a great question. Thank you, Connie, for asking.
Okay. Well, thank you all so much. I think this was really great. We thank your publishers for sponsoring you here. And books can be purchased through Brodart, and we will be posting this on YouTube, and those that have signed up will get a recording of this webinar. So thank you. We appreciate
Thank you. Thanks, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Thank you all.